Well, hello, my YouTube fellows and gals and friends and family. My name is Tammy, and this is my used bookstore days where I come on here. And if you don't buy books off of me, that's okay. I'm also a resource center. If you have a Kindle or a Nook and you want to look up these books, I just want you to know what books are out there because I'm a book lover. What can I say? It's one of my passions. So, anyways, if you are interested in buying my books, you can reach me through Minutes Bookstore and more on Facebook, or you can contact me at tammysmakeuptreats@gmail.com. And I always read 10 books. They're either hardbacks, softbacks, whatever, and I'll tell you the prices, and these are all $3 each. And they're all going to be hardbacks today. So, with that note, let's begin. This is a book number 1. It's called Forever Odd by Dean Koontz. Love Dean Koontz's books. This is what the book looks like. Really good condition. It is a 2005 copyright. There's the man himself. And this is what the book's about. Whew. We're all a little odd beneath the surface. He's the most unlikely hero you'll ever meet. An ordinary guy with a modest job you might never look at twice. But there's so much more to any of us than meets the eye. And that goes triple for Odd Thomas. For Odd lives always between two worlds in the small desert town of Pico Mundo, where the heroic and harrowing are everyday events. Odd never asked to communicate with the dead. It's something that just happened. But as the unofficial goodwill ambassador between our world and theirs, he's got a duty to do the right thing. That's the way Odd sees it, and that's why he's won hearts on both sides of the divide between life and death. A childhood friend of Odd's has disappeared. This is my little post-it note, so it's not writing in the book, so you know. It's my receipt. A childhood friend of Odd's had disappeared. The worst is feared, but as Odd applies his unique talents to the task of finding the missing person, he discovers something worse than a dead body. He encounters an enemy of exceptional cunning and spirals into a vortex of terror. Once again, Odd will stand out against our worst fears. Around him will gather new allies, old, some living and some not. For the battle to come, there can be no innocent bystanders, and every sacrifice can tip the balance between despair and hope. Whether you're meeting Odd Thomas for the first time or he's already an old friend, you'll be led on an unforgettable journey through a world of terror, wonder, and delight to a revelation that can change your life. And you can have no better guide than Odd Thomas. So that is book number 1. Book number 2, we have Yesterday by Fern Michaels, and we are on the action and suspense section. So this is what the book looks like. These are in such good condition. This is a 1995 copyright, and this is what the book is about. On the eve of her wedding to a wealthy local scion wine archer, Callie Parker wanted for nothing. Raised on her father's Clemson, South Carolina plantation, she was accustomed to a world of privilege in which her every desire was fulfilled. Life with Wynne promised to be a delightful whirl of luxury, beginning with their wedding, and that day would not be complete without the 3 people who had grown up with Callie under the sheltering branches of Angel Oaks at Park Manor. There was Bo Jessup, part brother and part idol to Callie, whom her father rescued from an orphanage. She wanted one last chance to say goodbye to the boy who'd grown into a successful lawyer. And a wildly attractive man next was Bree Canfield, the freckle-faced waif whose dream had come true when Clemson welcomed her into his elegant house as a playmate for Callie. Now the FBI agent with a life of her own, Bree welcomed a trip back to the only place she had ever thought of as home. Last was Celia Bronson, another impoverished child, starved for love and grateful for the family she'd found at Parker Manor. An unhappy marriage was the only reason she wanted to return to the plantation where her earliest fantasies of love and happiness had been born. Now Callie's childhood companions are gathering at Parker Manor to celebrate her new joy and to relive the charmed years they spent before adult life made its demands. Yet they cannot imagine the tragedy that awaits them. A terrible accident leaves Callie in a coma, and Bodbury and Selah, unprepared for the shocking truths that surfaced in the wake of the crash. As the trio of friends discover how little they know of their beloved yesterdays, one woman's darkest secret threatens to tear them apart. So that sounds interesting. That's book number 2. Book number 3, we have The Ascension Factor by Frank Herbert and Bill Ransom. And this is definitely an oldie. This is a 1988 copyright. You see the pages are starting to turn. And this is what it's about. Pandora's humans have been recovering land from its raging seas at an accelerated pace since the Lazarus effect, the great kelp of the seas sentient but electronically manipulated by humans, buffers Pandora's wildest currents to restore land and facilitate the booming sea trade. New settlements rise overnight, but children starve in their shadows. An orbiting assembly station is near completion of Project Voidship, which is the hope of many for finding a better world. Pandora is under the first of the ambitions clone from hibernation called the Director, who rules with a sadistic security force led by the assassin Spider Nevi. Small resistance group like the one led by Twist, Koontz, and Ben Ozet have had little effect on its absolute power. The Director controls the transportation of foodstuffs. Uprisings are punished with starvation. The resistance fighters' main hope is Krista Galley, a woman believed by some to be the child of God. Krista pulls her talents with Dwarf McIntosh, Bert's Tatouche, and Rico LaPush. What names? To transcend the barriers between the different species that overthrow the Director and the sinister cable with which he rolls. So there you go. This is kind of more of like a sci-fi action suspense, but I'm not a library, and I mix what I want to mix together. And if they're on the edge of your seat or they're whodunit, that's action and suspense to me. So there's book number 3. Book number 4, The Summons by John Grisham. Nice book. It is in big fonts. This is actually a 2002 copyright. This is what it's about. Let me see here. Still reeling from a recent split with his wife, law professor Ray Ehle is called home by his dying father. The retired judge is anxious to discuss his will and final wishes. The return home also means Ray will have to meet with his brother Forrest, the black sheep of the family, but unfortunately the family meeting never takes place, for the judge dies before their arrival, and he leaves behind a shocking secret known only to Ray and perhaps someone else. So there you go, short and sweet. So that's book number 4. Book number 5, we have T for Trespass by Sue Grafton. That's what the book looks like. Look at that. Big letter T. This book is a 2007 copyright. Really good condition. And this is what it's about. Beginning slowly with the day-to-day life of a private eye, Grafton suddenly shifts from the voice of Kinsey Milhone to one of Selena Rojas, introducing readers to a chilling sociopath. Rojas is not her birth name. It is an identity she's cunningly stole, an identity that gives her access to private caregiving jobs. The true horror of this novel builds with excruciating tension as the reader foresees the awfulness that lies ahead. The wrenching suspense lies in whether Kinsey Milhone will realize what is happening in time to intervene. T for Trespass is dealing with the issues of identity theft, elder abuse, betrayal of trust, and the truth in the institutions charged with caring for the weak and the dependent could not be more timely. It targets an all too real rip in the social fabric. In T for Trespass, Grafton takes us into a darker territory than she has ever traversed, leaving us with a true sense of the horror embedded in the seeming ordinariness of the world we think we know. The result is terrifying. Ooh, this sounds like a really good book. So there you go. Book number 5. Book number 6, we have Orbit 11. This is Orbit 11 by Damon Knight. That's what the book looks like. It is a 1972 copyright, and this is what it's about. In Alien Stones, Gene Wolfe has written his most magnetic, compelling story, a tale of space travel and of a meeting between alien cultures viewed from an utterly new perspective. In Spectra, Vonda McIntyre in Spectre gives us a haunting glimpse of the terror that may come when the distinction between human beings and machinery is lost. And Goodbye, Shelley, Shirley, Charlotte, Charlene. Robert Thurston tells the story of a man blessed or cursed with a series of beautiful and identical women. Also included are stories by Frederick, and it gives a bunch of names. It says, these stories are not reprints from magazines. They are new science fiction stories appearing here for the first time anywhere in the world. Orbit, published twice yearly, is a continuing anthology of the best new science fiction being written in English. For each new volume, Orbit invites submissions from both new and established writers and selects the best from among the hundreds of submitted manuscripts. In the 6 years they have been eligible, stories from Orbit have won 4 of the coveted Nebula Awards given by Science Fiction Writers of America. Wow, that sounds interesting. So that is what this book is about. It's a bunch of stories by a bunch of different people. How cool is that? So there we go. Book 6. Book number 7. We have The Dwelling by Susie Moloney. That's what the book looks like. It is a 2003 copyright. This is what it's about. Let's see here. .362 Below Street is a homeowner's dream. A nice neighborhood close to schools, new hardwood floors, unique original details. So why then, wonders real estate agent Glenn Darnley, won't this charming property stay off the market? Perhaps the clawed feet of the antique bathtub look a little too threatening, or maybe it's the faint hospital-like smell of the room at the top of the stairs. It's possible that the haunting music that pours out from under the steps keeps the residents awake at night. In the 3 parts of Susie Moloney's hair-raising novel, The Dwelling, ownership of 362 Bellevue changes 4 lives, with Gwen Darnley brokering each deal. The first occupants are a young couple, Rebecca and Daniel Mason, who have big dreams of wealth and success. It doesn't take long for them to realize they're not welcome in their new house. After a ghostly seduction and a violent confrontation, the property is once again for sale. Next comes Barbara Parkins, a divorcee, and her happy young son, Petey. Lonely and looking for companionship, the two find comfort in some new way. Playful young friends, when the Parkins family leaves, the house is sold again. Last, ownership goes to Richie Bromley, a drunken raider and lost soul, but like the others, he can't settle down in this house, which has a mind and a heart of its own. For Glenn, however, the house is a dream, always warm and welcoming. The floors gleam and the sun pours through the windows. Owners come, and 362 Below makes sure owners go. It's waiting patiently for its beloved to realize how much it loves her. It's waiting for Glenn, the very special person who can finally turn this house into a home. So there you go. Book 7. That sounds interesting. Book number 8. We have The Land Breakers. This is definitely a beat up cover because this is going to be an older one. This is what the cover looks like. And I love it because the jackets really protect the books, which is really cool. This is a 1964 copyright. That's what the book looks like. It's edged with deckled pages. Really cool. Look, awesome to hear that crackly. So this is what the book is about. Mooney Wright is the first man to arrive in the valley. He was a big man, strong, eager to accept the challenge of the wilderness mountain country, willing to put himself against its seen and unseen threats, its wolves and bears, its terrifying nighttime forest noises. Its bone-biting cold, its lonely, quiet edge with fear. It took a man of Mooney's strength and spirit to chop down trees, build a cabin against the coming winter's mountain storms, burn off the brush, scratch from planting room for crops. Tinkler Harrison was the second man, and he is a different sort. Older, autocratic, stubborn, and selfish, like Mooney, a believer in the valley. Harrison brought with him his wealth and slaves and a new young wife, and he regarded it in that order. He also brought his daughter, Lori Pollard, and her 2 sons, abandoned some years ago by wandering Lacey Pollard. In the spring, there are others come to settle, including the shiftless but proud Ernest Plover and his brood of girl children, and soon there are many distractions for Mooney, and not the least the song and laughter of Ernest's lovely daughter, Mina. But it is Lacey Pollard's return that triggers the personal crisis for Mooney and Lori and Mina, and it is their hunt for the massive bear and their efforts to drive their livestock to the market over the mountains that the story of these powerfully realized men and women, their conflicts, their pain and hope, their rough-hewn humor, and their battle to tame a hostile land reaches a climax. So there you go. Book 8. Book number 9. We have another Sue Grafton book. This is Q is for Quarry. So this is what the book looks like. And it has some marker in it, obviously. It is a 2002 copyright. There she is. She's cute. Love her picture. And this is what the book is about. Quarry is an open excavation. Quarry transitive is to dig up or take from, and transitive to delve into. Quarry is also an object pursued or hunted prey. She was a Jane Doe, an unidentified white female whose decomposed body was discovered near a quarry off California's Highway 1. The case fell into Santa Teresa County Sheriff's Department, but the detectives had little to go on. The woman was young, her hands were bound with a length of wire. There were multiple stab wounds and her throat had been slashed. After months of investigation, the case remained unsolved. That was 18 years ago. Now the 2 men who found the body, both nearing the end of long careers in law enforcement, want one last shot at the case. Old and ill, they need someone to do legwork for them, and they turn to Kinsey Milham. They tell her, find closure if they can just identify the victim. Kinsey is intrigued with the challenge and agrees to work with them, but revisiting the past can be dangerous business. And what begins in the pursuit of Jane Doe's real identity ends in a high-risk hunt for her killer. So there you go. Q for Quarry was inspired by an unsolved homicide that actually occurred in 1969, when in the fall of 2000, Sue Grafton heard about the case from the now-retired forensic pathologist who had autopsied the body. Her interest was piqued. Something about the story tugged at her, and by 2001, she was working inside the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department, given full cooperation and access to all pertinent records. During that year, the body was exhumed, and an internationally renowned forensic sculptor was engaged to do a facial reconstruction. Photographs of this reconstruction appear at the end of the novel. Both Grafton and the dedicated members in the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department are hoping the photographs will trigger memories that will lead to a positive identification, perhaps even to a solution of the case. On the day Jane Doe was reburied, a uniformed Sheriff's Department honor guard accompanied her from the coroner's office to the cemetery. It is eerie to think that the power this woman still has, Grafton writes. Here we are 30 years later, and she still wants to go home. Oh, nice. So there you go. Book number 9. And the last book we have is another Sue Grafton. This is book number 10, and this is S for Silence. This is what the book looks like. And it is 2005 copyright. And this is what the book is about. 34 years ago, Violet Sullivan put on her party finery and left for the annual 4th of July fireworks display. She was never seen again. In the small California town of Serena Station, tongues wagged. Some said she'd run off with a lover. Some said she was murdered by her husband. But for the night, not quite 7-year-old daughter Daisy she left behind, her absence has never been explained or forgotten. Now, 34 years later, she wants the solace of closure. And there you go. So how cool is that? This sounds like a good book, too. I like the whodunits, and you got to solve it. And this has, like, a little bit of brown stuff right there on the bottom of the book. You see it on the outside of the pages, but other than that, it's a good shape. So with that, if you know any book lovers, bring them on over so that they can see the books that's out there too, and then they can go find them. So with that, whatever time zone you're in, I hope you're having a great one, and I'll see you soon. And don't forget to check the description below. Bye. Mwah.